everyone. Welcome to the Urban Robot Cat Podcast. I'm your host, Travis Likens.
I'm Chris RWK.
And I'm Cory from Strange Cat Toys.
We're here for episode 65. And, it's been a week, I got to say, for myself. I don't know about you, Chris, but what have you been up to?
Well, this weekend I got a bunch of stuff done, working on a bunch of new stuff. This week, I don't know. Same old shit. I don't know. Nothing's changed. Nothing's really changed. What about you, Cory?
Same, painting robots, riding the train to work. Same as you.
Wait a minute. Did we switch lives? Wait a minute.
Getting lots of shipments in, dealing with bullshit. These just came in, so primes are low. These will be dropping next week. Oh, I got my nails painted by Matilda too.
I thought you were bringing back the emo nail polish thing.
No. So it's got giant butt cheeks. It's nice, clear, glittery resin.
It's a fan favorite in the comments at the moment.
Yes, it's massive. I told Prime, I said, let's do like 3 or 4 inches. He's like, no, let's go big. So you can murder somebody with it. You need to.
I definitely like the mix of how they did the mix of the clear with the glitter, but also the paint work on it. I really think that sets it off. I don't think it would have had as much character if you would have left it unpainted in the glitter.
Yeah.
So I think that really makes the piece.
That's all Prime too. I said, let's just keep it all clear. And he's like, no, I want to paint this part and this part. I was like, all right. But he was right.
Prime subscribes to my school of glow in the dark and clears.
Yeah, that's true.
He knows a thing or two about art. It's
Yeah, he does this stuff. What about you, Travis?
It's just been kind of like a crazy personal week. UBD and I've been doing a lot of orders and all that kind of stuff. But my parents over the last weekend, they celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary, and we threw them a little surprise party. So that kept me busy. My wife did most of the planning, but at the same time, I was, involved in it as well. And then just a bunch of stuff. Like I was telling Cory before this started, I had to go to the old day job today in the office. So I left my house at 7 a.m. and I got home about 10 minutes before this podcast started. So it's been a long day. It's been action-packed, pulling Chris hours.
Gotcha.
But let's see here. So it is episode 65. And if you look at the title of said episode, we do have a guest. So I'm going to take a second to go ahead and introduce someone that really probably doesn't need a whole lot of introduction, but we're going to do it anyway. So Luke Chueh is now in the chat. Welcome to the show, Luke.
Oh, I'm in the chat. Oh, I was just messing around with my background. Hey, how's it going, guys?
You went with the blur. I like it.
I went with the blur. It's I don't know, just so everyone can see if they, just how how I live.
There it is.
There it is. The couch. They usually were paintings hanging, in the background, but I had to, donate them to a show that is opening this week. So
nice.
At the Japanese Museum for Giant Robot. So exciting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
From
Japanese
the,
American Museum in
the
downtown
brief
Los
peek
Angeles.
into your apartment here. It looks like this is the one I visited.
Actually, this is my studio. So my
apartment
is,
okay.
If you're appalled by how messy this is, I assure you this is nothing. My my actual living space is cluttered, to say the least. With collections and collections and collections of toys and boxes and boxes and boxes of unopened stuff and whatever. But anyways,
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Luke Chueh. I'm based in Los Angeles. How's it going?
It's going well. So just so you don't feel so bad, if Chris had his on, he also has a clutter.
Going
on in his studio as well. So
yeah, that's why there's no video this week, because my studio was trying to look for something and just things got a little awry.
Wow.
So before we get too far,
how's it going?
before we
I
get
like
to
this. I do a podcast myself. I do it with Eric Nakamura from Giant Robot, and we do it over what's that? Over Zoom. And
Mhm.
this is really nice. I like the custom background. Is that a custom background that you guys put on there with the little like squigglies and stuff, or is that
Like one of the
custom,
default
but
options.
it's a default option. But yes, it's custom because there's like 5 or 6 you can choose from, or you could add your own if you really wanted to.
that's amazing?
If you wanted to do something really cool, or if you're like myself and you're just trying to throw this together at the last second, you selected the default ones.
And where are people streaming this? I'm assuming that the people popping in are people who are streaming.
Yeah, so they can stream it live right now on YouTube, and then it is also on our Instagram over at Urban Robot Cat Instagram or UBD Toy. Sorry, but no, it's over at YouTube.com/Urban Robot Cat. There we
We're
go.
talking about a whole bunch of stuff nobody cares about, but I'm, the technology is just amazing. So
Yeah,
I'm going to have to suggest people that we move to StreamYard. You guys are
super easy.
Yeah, we used to do a bunch of different stuff. This does come with a little bit of a fee to get all the features. Otherwise, you end up with like a StreamYard banner. But it's super easy to use. It's way easier for guests than when we used to do it on Zoom or when we used before. We used Skype and stuff like different Teams and whatever we used before. And this is way easier for the interface for the guests. It's way easier for the interface for the live streams to be able to go out at the same time as well. You can actually connect it to a number of social medias. We just currently use YouTube and Instagram for ours.
So you could also stream it to Twitch if you wanted to.
Yeah, and you can stream to multiple Instagrams. So we just haven't done this because it's a little cumbersome to stream directly to Instagram. You have to like manually do it. But we could stream it to multiple Instagrams at the same time. So you could go to like the Giant Robot one, the Luke Chueh one, and then if your guys has a podcast one, I'm not 100% sure on that. But you can send us all of them. So everybody that's watching the show that was like, wow, I didn't know I was going to learn so much about podcasting. But before we get too far into the actual show, I do want to give a second for Luke to tell everybody who you are and what it is you do in the world of art.
I'm a Los Angeles-based painter and designer, and I have been also doing like designer toys or art collectibles or whatever you want to call it since 2007, which was a long time. And I just recently came out with my the new figure. It's called Low Fidelity, and I'm like basically here to pimp that out. But I'm also like mostly just a painter. I spend most of my time just kind of preparing for shows, and I have a show coming up in May in London. So if you are watching there, please come out to my show on May 11th at Dorothy Circus Gallery in May.
Nice.
I think I said May a couple times, but all right.
Are you going to be out there for it, or are you just shipping stuff in?
I'm definitely going to go out there. It's just, nice. an excuse to travel. So I'm pretty excited.
Sure. Yeah. Well, London's a fun town. It's a cool place to go check out. I'm sure you've been there. It is cool. It's a lot of fun.
I don't even know whether or not there's much of a designer. I mean, like they have like ToyCon UK, but they don't really like. I've been trying to find like brick and mortars that I can wholesale to, but I haven't like.
Yeah, you're gonna want to look to our toys in France.
Yeah.
What's funny is that I remember there was a little like cafe that my girlfriend and I like to go to where we get like classic kind of French cuisine, and it just happens to be like a block or two away from that restaurant, and I accidentally discovered
no way.
The store, and it was very cool, and they had no idea who I was.
They were like, Luke, who? What do you mean?
Like what? It's like, I do not understand. And
but no, it does feel like I will say this over the past couple of years. I feel like maybe 5 years ago, I didn't really get a lot of orders from Europe. To the UK, I got more, but like actual like mainland Europe, I guess you would say, not the island. I didn't get a lot of orders there, but like Art Toys and a few other retailers have really picked up, and I feel like awareness about designer toys in Europe is increasing at the moment. A number of galleries or a number of like museums are starting to carry products into gift shops and things.
Right.
It really seems like it's starting to kind of like pick up over there. Whereas, Corey and I had talked about this a few years ago. It's like when they increased the tax situation where we were going to have to collect the taxes, we were kind of, well, I guess we'll just stop selling, right? Like,
right.
Because I'm not going to collect because I don't really sell that much at all over there. But I'm glad I didn't because now it actually is kind of taken off. So it feels like it's growing over there. So hopefully, you going over and having a show, maybe it'll pull people out to the show and then maybe kind of, pull more people to the scene,
I hope so. It's I would love to see a larger international like effect and presence, with what we're doing. I don't know.
Well,
we'll see.
It seems like more people I know are having shows in Europe. So like Chris just had a show there, and then you're going to have a show there. And then there's been tons of them recently where it seems like it's kind of picking up more as well over there with people that I recognize and know. So that's a good sign as well. So
I'm wondering if it's because that they've kind of shown all of their artists already, and they're kind of just expanding more.
Well, I guess we'll have to go to Chris and Luke now.
Well, no, because it's funny. Like during the pandemic, I had a show with Stowe Gallery over in the UK. And like all their other artists that they were showing were really just Europe based artists. So I was kind of like I'm who knows how the hell I'm going to do here. Luckily they had me do 100 paintings and the show sold out, but it was kind of like weird just almost being like I don't know if I was like a test market, because it was like it just seemed like they had just so many other European based artists and not really any US artists yet. So
yeah, you were like an entry point.
Yeah.
If you would have failed, they would have never called anybody else.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for carving the path.
Well, no, it's funny because I was talking to some old school like graph writers and stuff like that, like ones who like you figured would have shown like over there already, and a lot of them hadn't shown, and like they're just starting to get shows that just like being from New York, kind of assumed like they were selling over there already, and they weren't. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, it definitely is a matter of one, getting over there, and then two, getting the word out, right? So once people got to know who you are before they're going to ask about you, right? So that's kind of the second piece of it, and then just kind of lining up the shows with the right gallery at the right time that's willing to take a chance to bring something new to the scene, in the different areas of the world.
Yeah. It's I think that the transition from different geographic markets is always like kind of a tricky one, right? Because we, as Americans, or North Americans, like to think that we are the center of the world, and that everyone's paying attention to us, but it's really not the case. It's like where I could have an event in Los Angeles and do well with it and maybe draw a bunch of people to attend it. Like if I do a show in like somewhere in Europe or even England, like I will be happy if I could get 5 people walking through the door for the opening. And
Chris and I have actually been talking about this about when you enter a country or enter a new market, it's about micro entries, right? So you start out, maybe you have like a piece at a show, right? Like in a group show or something. And then maybe somebody sees it and they're like, hey, we could have a show with him or her, or like you do releases with a person that has a successful retailer there. So you have your toys over there, they do like a pre-order or something and they try to sell them to a new market. Or like Chris just had that piece that, the mural that went up in the station over in Tokyo, like that's a micro entry where now his piece is in a busy station. And hopefully, maybe 40 people discover Chris because of that or something. Somebody takes the time to figure out who he is, go to his page, and kind of figure out who he is. Because you never know what that's going to turn into, right?
100%.
Somebody sees that mural, might buy a piece in a year or two, kind of a thing. So Micro entries are a good place to start. Having 5 people show up to your show is a great thing. Anytime somebody knows who you are, knows your work, is a great thing, right? But going to a new market is always scary, whether you're an artist, a brand, whatever. It's not like everybody knows in the world what you're doing. I generally walk into a room assuming that nobody knows what I'm doing.
100%. I think it's well, it's that definitely has a bit of a like low hope for the best, expect the worst kind of like attitude, right? Like, and I think that's what we should all have that's what I have for everything I do. I like as a painter, I am constantly just wondering when the bottom is going to drop out. I feel very fortunate to be able to say that I'm making a living as a full-time artist, but like any like of the creative arts, you just need to look at like the history of like whether it's music or visual arts or things come in vogue and things dip out. And it's and I'm just constantly like like carefully measuring the dips, before.
Well, I think just your comment earlier about releasing toys since 2007. I mean, obviously you were doing paintings before that, but you survived the first major. You went through the first boom, saw the first dip, came out of the dip, still maybe it'll survive, and now we're in kind of a bit of a shrink, right? And maybe we're coming out of it. But you're going through another one of those and you're kind of watching how it goes. There's been a lot of people that started when you started originally that are definitely not here anymore. And there's been people that started in the second boom that aren't here anymore either. So like, I think that talks to the longevity of not only your characters and your artwork, but also just you as a person being able to judge and, kind of keep on rolling, even though, the world's tossing crazy things at us. So, it speaks volumes to your ability to continue working forward even when the world's tossing things at you. So
well, I kind of feel that there's a saturation game, right? And on one hand it's about making sure you don't like oversaturate your market when things are going hot. And of course you don't want to like underdo it too, because you can easily get buried. Like one of the things that we were kind of talking about before, or I brought up, was like the art toy scene has kind of fragmented is kind of fragmented in all these different cliques, right? So you have like the traditional like soft traditional like vinyl toy art designer toy people, and then you have like the very cliquey like sofubi people, and then you have the basic bitches of the world who collect bear bricks. And
like
don't get me wrong, I collect bear bricks too. I'm a basic bitch too, but fucking I'm just saying, it's
and the other thing too that I think about often is that back in the first boom, you had a few companies and then some independent producers that were making things. You had a few news sources that were like reporting on it, so the news was kind of coming and getting sent out, and there was like, we're all looking to the same 20 artists or 30 artists or 5 companies or whatever, and we're all kind of looking to that. With the boom of Instagram and all these other different places, the news sources have kind of slowed down a bit. So like, some of the blogs and things are not the first destination people see your stuff at anymore, where it was at one point. And because of that, it's created, like you said, the micro clicks, right? There's the people that only look at Sofubi or the bootleg toys or the handmade resin stuff or the designer toys, like the more traditional ones. And then there's this whole world that Cory keeps exposing me to of Etsy people that are clearly making like designer toys. They just don't know it, right? Like there's those people, so there's like, it's all fragmented and it's like separated. And it does feel very different than it did 10 years ago, where it was like everybody kind of knew a little bit of everybody. Now there's a whole new group of people And then it's just a matter of figuring out how to inspire some of that community again, because it sometimes does feel very fragmented, like you're saying.
I'm curious about the Etsy people. Cory, can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, so I think they consider themselves more as like makers. They sculpt a lot in clay. They don't usually mess a ton in resin, maybe like a little bit in resin, but we're trying to ramp up this collected con that we're making, so we're reaching out to people to spread the word. And I've contacted, I don't know, 50 or so Etsy type folks, I would say, and almost all of them are like, oh, I don't know if I would fit in with, like, I don't know if my stuff's really like designer toy, but it's their own original character creation in 3D form, which is essentially a designer toy or art toy. So yeah, I think even those people aren't even familiar with the scene. And also that fan base too. We made a toy with this artist Hazel Allery, and she's what I would consider like an Etsy type person and maker. And we made her little jumping spider toy, and we released it on our website, and it sold fairly well. But it got kind of stagnant, and her people would be like, "Oh, when are you going to put it in your Etsy shop?" And so she'll come by my house and pick up like 50 of the toy, and she'll say, "All right, they're up in my Etsy shop," and they all sell out in like an hour. So it's
Wow.
like her base is just like stuck on Etsy. So I think there's this huge fan base that doesn't even realize there's this whole toy scene that is around the same stuff that they collect. So we're kind of hoping to
Create some
bring
outreach.
that base over to Collected Con and just designer toys in general.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because I think what it is some of these people 10 years ago probably might have discovered this stuff by sculpting on some sort of platform toy, the customizer scene, right?
Sure, like a pop, like a Funko Pop.
Yeah. And now that kind of the scene is less because the Dunnies and things like that aren't as prevalent. So I think a lot of people have started sculpting on their own, 3D printing them, right, and then painting those or molding and casting off of that. They're kind of skipping that stage where a lot of customizers went from customizing another toy to designing their own toy. A lot of them skip that step, and now they're designing their own toy, printing it, molding, casting it themselves, and hand painting it and selling it. And that's a lot of the people on Etsy as well too. They're starting out as a 3D print, and they're molding and casting. Some of those ones that Cory was sharing with me, I can see that within what they were doing. And then there's the whole 3D printing scene is a whole other thing. Like what's going on over there is a whole other thing. But those people, some of them don't know that what we do exists, but I know that they would enjoy it, right? And so it's like kind of marrying all that stuff up, because it's, I get contacted by people all the time that don't know this exists, and they're like, I 3D printed this thing, I designed it, and I have everything here. I want to figure out how to make it. And it's like I'm like, have you looked at all this other stuff? They're like, oh wow, I didn't even know this existed.
Sure.
Because there's people out there that are printing, 3D printing like 20 or 30 of something to make a run,
right?
Instead of like molding and casting it. And it's like, this could be way easier.
Sorry, Cory.
I was they'll like, because my wife follows a lot of these kind of makers, and she's like waiting for like their Etsy drops, because almost all these people she follows, their stuff sells out like that. So it just seems like the natural next wave of things to come into the toy scene.
I think it's kind of fascinating. I wonder to a certain degree whether or not these people are like you mentioned the other artists who, like, you guys produced with and were selling on your store, but like they're collectors, we're waiting for an Etsy drop. And I think to a certain degree that there is a mentality about Etsy where like they feel that by buying from the Etsy store, you are directly supporting the artist.
100%.
As opposed to like, say, an online retailer who like inevitably is going to get their cut, and the money is kind of split up, and then which then discourages the producer from even like promoting the release, because if it does, whatever doesn't sell at the retailer spot, it will simply be brought back to the the creator for them to sell directly at I guess whatever profit.
Yep.
Which then kind of creates this weird cyclical situation where it's like, well, all you're doing is preaching to a choir, and really the goal is to kind of okay, so I produced my first figure, went to China. I didn't go, took it to China to have produced. The numbers that we produced are like, with 5 different colorways, we did 2,000 figures. And obviously that's not something that everybody can do. Like it costs me tens of thousands of dollars to make it happen.
A year ago, right?
A year ago. Yeah, that started a year ago. And then the shipping alone, like to take that thing on a slow boat over here, is
insane.
It's insane. But and then I could put it all on my online store and collect all the profit from that, but I'm not at all. I'm more interested in being able to put this in brick and mortar stores across the United States, so that people who go to these stores, who support these stores, who may not have ever heard of me, can potentially see it, connect with it, purchase it, and I'm still getting paid, but I'm potentially gaining a new fan, someone new interested in work. I'm also supporting a community. And I think that that's the problem that we run into with these ultra small, productions. You produce 50, you produce even 100, you can be able to sell that on your own quite easily. But the thing is, depending on how large your following is, and the social media that you are using to push it.
Yep.
But I don't know. I'm wondering, after hearing this, whether or not that's the direction things are going to inevitably go. Is everyone is just going to just it's going to be a niche group of people who are 100, 200 people orbiting artists, rather than and with artists being able to make enough money to live off of it, off of the production. But what's the point of taking the gamble of of going into a production that costs tens of thousands of dollars? Because tens of thousands of dollars is not throwaway money. It's, and no matter there's plenty of designer toys out there that are complete flops. Tens of thousands of dollars invested, and you're literally making back pennies on that dollar, just trying to get it out of your warehouse so you can be able to hopefully move on.
Well, and I think this is a conversation, whether it's wholesale to stores or that kind of thing. But this conversation also happens a lot with galleries, right? Should I sell my paintings directly, or should I work with a gallery? And I don't feel like I should give a cut to the gallery or whatever. But I think what that mindset is very short-sighted on is it's going to be hard to grow past your own fan base unless you somehow get some bigger growth on social media or go viral or something like that. It's going to be hard to grow past your own fan base if nobody else is promoting your stuff. Because when I sell my stuff to Cory wholesale, and Cory sends it out on his newsletter, all of his subscribers may not be my subscribers. So now somebody discovers UBD Toys because of that. Or, when Chris and I work together and we send out emails and all that kind of stuff, his followers now may come to me, vice versa. When I first started making toys as UBD Toys, I was very much, my fan base was very much the fan base of whatever artists I was working with at that time, because I was relatively new and making characters that people recognize from other artists. So what I would see at first was almost like stovepipes, right? So here's these fans, and here's these fans, and here's these fans, right?
Mhm.
And eventually what's happened is they started to all cross. So I can see where people have 20 orders and they've ordered from all the different artists that I work with. So like suddenly what's happened is that realization of the stovepipes has all went away at this point. Now it's kind of like there's people all over the place that are supporting from all different directions. And the only way that that would have happened was because the one central focal point of myself started introducing artists' fan bases to other artists' fan bases. I'm not saying I'm the only reason, but you know, that's definitely it helped, right?
Right.
And I think things like Cory's store, galleries, other stores throughout the scene, they're vital to the scene and keeping people and introducing people to the variety, to the person that's walking down the street and
100%.
doesn't know this exists, and then they see Luke's figure in the window and they're like, "Man, what is that? I got to go check this out." You know.
Well, you know, okay, so you know, as I've mentioned before, I usually show my paintings in galleries, and in case you guys don't, and the audience doesn't know, and gallery commission is 50%, 50. So like you sell a $200 painting on a gallery wall, 100 of that dollars is going to the gallery and the $100 of it is going to you. So what's the benefit of showing at a fucking gallery? Well, the benefit of showing at the gallery is galleries usually have diverse audiences, you know, because of their stable of artists should be, you know, wide enough to be able to attract, you know, different people, but still have a certain aesthetic that like makes people want to come to all the openings regularly to see like who they're showing next. But second of all, and this is an issue that I dealt with, I've been, you know, painting full time now since 2003, and I never went to art school, into art, like a formal art school or anything like that. I studied graphic design, but that's another story. And when I started showing my work, I was selling my paintings for like $200, $300 a piece because, you know, I was still trying to figure out what I was doing. And once I got into a gallery and they were looking at, you know, they were measuring like, you know, the demand, you know, versus, you know, the and everything. They helped me raise my prices to a point where I can be able to like make a living. And I know I'm not as a, you know, as a normal human being with a lot of doubt and self-esteem issues. I don't think I could like sit there and like just create a painting and go $10,000 because like I question my own value and my own talent and like where I fit in all of this, like most people do. And so, and if it wasn't for the galleries and obviously the 20 some years that I've been like, you know, working with galleries, you know, measuring, you know, the gauging, you know, like the, you know, the value of my work, I can, you know, I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for like this kind of establishment that helped me like grow, evolve, you know, direction, give me a little bit of direction, help me gauge what is working, and then also, you know, assign like, you know, value to what I'm doing. And I think that like if you're like content with like sitting in, you know, $100, you know, that in the $100 realm, that's great. But I'm that guy who's hearing about $1 million paintings selling, and I'm like, how do I get a piece of that? And I'm not saying I'll ever get there, but I'm looking
you're
at
trying. No, I think what I've come to realize over the years, every time I hear that discussion, is that the people that end up getting upset about the galleries or the producers or whoever, they didn't get a benefit from working with whoever they worked with.
Mm.
They didn't get what they felt like was a fair deal. They just saw it as, well, they took half my sale. maybe the gallery didn't do the work. They didn't post. They didn't have a list of people that could actually help bring new product to them. Maybe they didn't have a very long preview list, or they didn't have, they didn't put in the work on their end. Maybe they misfumbled some things or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's about also choosing wise collaborators, right? People that bring things to the table that can help you get to the next level. And I think sometimes it's about being able to choose those people. And I think sometimes the people that have that argument are people that didn't choose wisely, or they,
Right.
they got duped or something, which is unfair. But
well, there are a lot of scoundrels out there, and there's a lot of people who will talk a big game but not be able to dish it out. And part of it, since I started doing this, I used to say, I usually say, like, there are 3 things that you need to have a successful career in the creative fields. And the first one is talent. Obviously, you need a certain, whatever that means to you, talent is important. The second thing you need is discipline. And, that's, really hard to make happen, because, what seems easy for most people, if you actually try doing it yourself, you'll quickly realize, it is harder than it looks. And then the third, and equally as important, you need luck. You need, like, the pieces just have to fall into place. And, like, I am I constantly, like, surprised that, like, things have, when I look back at my career, and when I look back at everything I've done and accomplished and everything I've overcome, I feel this like a lucky fucking duck, and, like, to have landed in Los Angeles when I did, to have met the people that I've met when I did, to have, struggled and persevered with, the collaborators that I've collaborated with. Shout out to all the galleries I've worked with. Shout out to Patrick from Monkey King. Shout out to, all the toy to the toy companies that have come and gone that I've also collaborated with. Like, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am now. And so, and I feel like the timing for, like, me meeting them, those people and I meeting and producing and releasing, like, it feels like a timing situation, rather than, I don't know, maybe I'm like, like, giving too much credit to luck, but I mean, like, that doesn't mean I didn't work hard when the door opened, but, like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, there's certain things that if you released it at different times, it might have been more successful or less successful, right? Just timing of, economies and different things like that. I mean, like we said earlier, you've survived a couple of booms and a couple of falls.
Mhm.
And, if you drop something in the middle of a fall, who knows if the person comes back and takes a chance on you again, right? Maybe they're no longer around, kind of a thing. So timing does play a big part in everything.
Yes.
As we talk about with Chris, it took him 20 years to be an overnight success, right?
I think I'm going on 30 now.
No, going on 30 now.
It's the art game, and, like, it's also about, like, who sees it, right? Who, Jesse Yu, my brother from another mother. I'm sure you guys are familiar with him. He did, like, he's done some, very some amazing designs. Has said and to me many times, you have millions of fans out there. They just a majority of them don't know it yet, and that has everything to do with exposure.
Yep.
Like how, like, like getting people to see your work, and like, and so to like you say Etsy. I mean, I've looked on Etsy before. I didn't like, maybe like the Etsy algorithm just never freaking like thought to show me like, these maker productions, because I had no idea that was happening. And and that's why, like, it's important for like retailers and producers to collaborate, but then to also push heavily on through their social media. Because it's like one of the things I feel like the art toy, designer toy world has struggled with is literally community. Like, it is this fragmented, disjointed kind of world where you're the only way you generally know about productions and releases is through the occasional Instagram post, back in the day Twitter, now known as X, posts, or Facebook posts. And it would have been great if there was a way for this gigantic umbrella of makers, designer toy people, Safubi people, whatever, to be able to come together under and be able to help promote each other with, and be able to like to share with, because one of the problems with say Instagram or even Facebook is when it comes to, like, say my work Instagram, like, I have no interest in sharing anything that doesn't have anything directly to do with me on that page. Maybe I'll post a story about something, but like, I want to keep my feed clean and like focused. And that's nothing, again, it has nothing to do with me feeling any kind of like anything against my colleagues, but it's just like, when people go to, like, when I see like an artist friend who artist friend's art Instagram, and then they have a baby, and next thing I know, their fucking Instagram feed becomes baby land. Like, I unfollow them, because it's like, I came here to see your artwork. I didn't come here to see your kid, and I want a streamlined Instagram feed, that just shows me that. So if I need ideas, I could open it up and I could just thumb through and like see like amazing art that gets me motivated. TYO Toys brings up Tramped, and yes, Tramped is definitely trying to do that, but I think it's a much bigger operation than the couple can be able to handle on their own. So
and I think it speaks to also when I got to say, once a week I find an artist that I have never heard of, that they have 100,000 followers, and clearly like lots of activity on their Instagram and things are going on. They have a market, they have products on their site, and I'm like, I've never heard of this person, and that's because of how Instagram and the algorithm feeds you things that you already know about, right? For the most part, it's looking for your habits, and it's looking for things that you like to see and you comment on or you like. So people fall out of your feed. Like, I'll be like, oh, I forgot that I even followed this person. What have they been up to? And it's like, you look and they've had a post like every day for the past 6 months, but you didn't see any of it, Sure. And it's just because like the way that algorithm works, it basically, what they did was they convinced us all to kind of switch over to Instagram, right? Which is fine. We all did it. And then they changed how it all worked. And now it's not the tool that it was in 2012, 13. You know, it's a different tool, and we're all having to learn how to make it work for us, right? It's constantly changing algorithm, trying to keep our posts active and everything. I mean, I think across the board, we can probably all say that general likes and engagement are down on Instagram unless you're doing videos, you know, like, you know, unless you're kind of converting over to a TikTok kind of mindset. It's definitely changed the game, and it's just a different tool. And it's very funny, like we talked about on the last episode, that the newsletter, your good old fashioned email list, at this point is the best way to contact people that want your information. But it's not growing it. It's just talking to the people that already want to see it. So like growing
that, and I would say
ahead,
Discord too. You know, Discord's like the one newer thing. Not that it's new, but I think a lot of people are adapting that because it's not algorithm based. Like you can grow it organically there. We're up to like almost 4,000 members in ours, and we have different channels for artists to share their own work and stuff like that. So
I should join your Discord. I had no idea.
We try to help with that, but you know, we can only do so much. It's too bad that we did kind of get trained over to social media and Instagram, because I feel like most people stopped looking at the blogs. They stopped writing the blogs. This is my new toy. They're not updated nearly as often. I know it's like a thankless job that they all do. So I can understand why it's not updated as often as it used to be, but it's too bad that those have, not that they've gone away, but they don't seem nearly as prevalent.
I mean, as an ex-blogger, you know, myself, you know, there was a period of time when everybody was basically like, well, there's no purpose for you anymore. I just post on my social media. And they literally stopped emailing us. You know, like we would see our emails go from like 50 things a day down to like 10. And then we're hustling around trying to find stuff on the different social medias and pull it over to the website and be able to, you know, share things that are going on. You know, it just kind of changed there in like the 2012, 13, 15, somewhere in that period of time. What I felt like at the time, Chris, let me finish, is the reason I started the blog, because it is thankless. I never really made any money off of blogging except for enough to keep the site on, right? It was all hours, and I was just passionate about talking about things like Luke and Chris and everybody were doing, and trying to help get the word out. And at a certain point there, it felt like I'm not helping people like I used to anymore. I need to find a new way to help people. And then that's how we converted over from a blog to making toys. That was basically the conversation. Somebody said, hey, I need some help making a toy. Do you think you could figure out how to do it? And that was the beginning of me transitioning from helping people with blogging to helping people with making. Continue.
No, all I was gonna say is, you know, and I fall victim to it too, where you know, I'll complain about the algorithm and stuff like that. But then I do talk to friends who are oil painters and who, you know, paint things like, you know, birds and things like this, and they have horrible Instagrams. Like their followings are horrible. They get no likes, but they're still selling paintings for like 10 grand a piece. So there's always going to be like part of the art scene that really has no acknowledgement to social media. It's just kind of our scene that's really dependent on it.
Yeah. And Chris, one question just to know. Those people that you're talking about, do they also work in the gallery system, or are they mostly selling their paintings direct?
Galleries.
Yep.
They're represented by galleries.
There it is.
Well, no,
there it is.
Right. It's you know, it's galleries and it's commissions, but you know, it is that portion of that's why I've always been a big proponent for galleries, because for me, you know, selling paintings on my own is cool and all, but that being able to like go to a gallery and see a painting hanging in a gallery is a totally different feeling. You know, buying something online is just buying something online. So
Moylan asks, how do we stay creative, or was it stay motivated as creators? I have just in case anyone wants to hear it, friend of the scene Ritzy Periwinkle and I did a podcast for her show Nacho Mamas, and I answered this question to her. She asked me this question too, and I'll answer Moylan's question, and that is, money. money keeps me motivated. It's the most unromantic fucking thing to hear, but like not having to like, but like fucking art sales keep me fucking motivated. And I hate saying that because it sounds so like unromantic as an artist, like, oh, I just have the art in me, I just got to keep fucking creating. No, I would much rather just sit around and fucking sleep. Like I've been like bemoaning with my friends, like, oh my God, I just wish that there was another fucking like pandemic and a stay at home, kind of thing for another 3 or 4 months, just so I can like not like I could give myself the excuse to fucking like not like, go to the studio and, and like, and work, but like I need, I live in Los Angeles. It's fucking expensive out here. And I need to I need to be able to I've already thrown away my dreams of home ownership, because of, where I live geographically. So I need to keep freaking creating in order to be able to sustain a, the lifestyle that I've lived. And what about you, Chris?
So I'm the complete opposite. I'm a sap and a romantic. It's obviously I would love to be able to just quit my day job and just paint full time and, have a reason to just continue to paint, but that isn't the corny, I have the art in me and I got to get it out of me.
Right.
But, to be honest, I mean, it's a lot of the people that are around me, the people I talk to, the excitement that I see on people's faces when I do talk to them about art, and their drive and their inspiration. That stuff, I guess, kind of motivates me the most, and the possibility of eventually quitting my job and just be able to hang out with my dog all day.
Yeah, so, like I think that
Well, it's different for every person. That's the thing with like motivation in general. I mean, it's from art to sports to work to everything. Your motivation is your own individual feeling, and whatever you find that motivates you is the only thing you got to kind of run with.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is that like, because like I've been painting the same handful of characters now for 20 something years. And
we got two people doing that.
Yeah, right.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, I Chris, I'm sorry. I'm not, I mean, I know your work, but I'm just not as familiar of like how long you've been doing it. You're painting your characters for, but like, it's so tiresome. It's so tiresome to know, like, if I want to be able to like, even like get someone to like think, even contemplate the idea of like buying a painting from me, like it has to have there's a certain checklist of things that I need to check off, and one of them is, does it have a fucking bear in it? And like I would love to be able to like take a break, a long enough break for me to like just kind of fuck around and do something completely different, from what I do. And like it, but it feels like such a risk that I just can't, jump off the fucking deep end and take. And because there's just too much freaking like lined up that I have to fucking like address, through the sales of art. And granted, like, I could like, get a job and like use that to freaking supplement my income, and it wouldn't, but like, I don't know. I've tasted the bear life. and I don't want to fucking like to do that, unless I have to. And
I think your way out of the bear life is you have to leave Los Angeles. I think that's step one, because you cut down your costs, then you can be more risky, right? So if you move to like Alabama or something where a house is not very expensive.
I've honestly have thought about that. I won't deny it. Like I've thought to myself, like, maybe like, like at least somewhere semi-metropolitan that where I don't feel completely disconnected from anything. But like at the same time, but what I've done now is I've created like, theories or philosophies as to why I'm using the bear character now, and like it's literally this exercise in like just how far can I take something before it breaks me.
Well, it's funny you mentioned earlier about like the the other shoe dropping, coming to the end of like the art scene kind of thing. It's like, and I think that's one of the problems with being character based artists. We kind of get this like pigeonhole where that if we don't do something with the robot or the bear, the first question is where's the robot, where's the bear,
Right.
and we for me personally, like that fear of it ending comes with, is there going to be a time when people get tired of the robot?
Right.
And if they get tired of the robot, are they going to adapt to the other characters or anything else that I do? And I think that's like that mixed horror feeling, that anxiety.
Right.
And we kind of asked that question when we had Dalek on, right? And he talked about putting the space monkey away.
Yeah.
And his reasoning behind doing it was because he felt that he was never going to be able to take the space monkey to the level that he wanted to, because he didn't understand color theory well enough. So then he went on his geometric color theory expansion. But he knew that he was probably alienating a portion of his audience, but he decided to do it anyway. I think in the end, because now we get these crazy Dalek Space Monkey paintings with the crazy backgrounds and all the geometric stuff and everything, it worked out. But there was probably an 8 to 10 year period where he wasn't painting the Space Monkey at all, and he was probably only servicing a very a portion of his fan base, right? But he learned what he wanted to learn, and he brought him back. But that's a major decision to take. That's not something to do lightly.
Yeah, and there's other character based artists that do that. Twist being one of them. It's kind of like when you have a character that everybody relies on. Sometimes you just got to kind of go complete left field for, your sanity.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And well, it's like I look at artists like in the contemporary art world, art space, like say Jeff Koons or Damien Hirst or like whatever, and they just like, I kind of feel like they're different, like phases are just kind of seem like they just like, I'm gonna do polka dots. Oh, I'm gonna do freaking taxidermized sharks. Oh, I'm gonna do fucking like gigantic animal balloons, whatever. And it's just like
very contrived and planned out, and very like it's like a phase.
Right, and and it's like a movement in their work, and I'm just kind of like, how, and is the reason why they're able to freaking do this is it because, well, I mean, there's a couple of different potentials, right? One of them is like they have MFAs, and so that piece of paper or whatever like says to the world, like, they know what they're doing, let the artist create, right? And then the other one, of course, is like Jeff Koons had like established a group of investors and investors who basically would go in and buy up all his work and artificially inflate the value of his work, by creating the illusion of demand, which then turns everyone's eyes turn toward him, and they're like, oh, like this guy's fucking, did a fucking $2 million fucking art show. Like he must be doing something right. And then it attracts big fish to like come in and, purchase that, buy into it as well.
Put their paintings in a warehouse.
Neither of which, yes, I have neither of those things.
Yeah, how do we find those people? How do we get those?
but you got to see that's also his timing too, because those guys that you mentioned all came pre-social media. Before they came when there was actually art stars in the world. Like now everybody's a freaking hobby artist, or everybody's an art star, and everybody thinks they're an artist, and everybody gets called an artist super easy nowadays. 30, 40 years ago, those guys were the art stars. They were the ones, at Mr. Chow's eating, with 5 people getting comped food. Where now, like, every single person, if you just look at the amount of flyers that get put out every single day and how many artists are on those flyers nowadays, it's literally like jam packed with people.
Right.
Back then, that timing, like you literally had 12 shows a year, 12 completely different artists. Like it wasn't, 60 people in one show. It's timing. It's that, like you mentioned,
Sure. Now I still remember like in the 90s picking up a Jeff Koons book. I just like thumbing through a Jeff Koons book, and it was just a collection of photos of him fucking Chiquiolina, his wife at the time. And I was just like, wow, this is, so this is what contemporary art is now. And it's I don't know, like, I mean, I one of the things I'm constantly grateful for is the fact that, like, the early 2000s and the late 90s saw the revival of craftsmanship, craft and art, right? You saw the return of like illustrative artwork, getting, with a big thanks to like Art Alternatives magazine, which preceded Juxtapose magazine, which preceded High Fructose and, Beautiful Bazaar and whatnot. And I think, it was fortuitous timing that I came in when I did. Of course, now things are kind of are changing a little bit with the coming of like artificial intelligence and and whatnot. All of which I think is pretty funny. Like I don't feel at all threatened by AI yet. How about you, Chris? How do you feel about it?
So I think there's a place for it, but not in the art world. I mean, I don't think, there's always going to be a hand that needs to be in the art. And, the people who are collectors understand that. And the people who are buying things for ridiculous amounts of money understand that. The AI generated stuff, I think, is literally just kind of like what NFTs were when they first blew up. What, just any kind of fad that just kind of took off and kind of fizzled. I think it's a threat for, like things like the advertising world and like graphic designers, stuff like that.
Agreed.
More than like artists.
Yeah, if your job is editorial illustration for like certain magazines, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
If you are, it's not quite there yet, but if your job is celebrity photography, like you might be fucked soon. Yeah. It's because you can like create celebrity photography as long as the celebrity thinks it looks good and is okay with it, then freaking why not use that image, right? It's just generated in the ether and published in a freaking website or whatever. It's the AI thing, I think, is fascinating. Fortunately, like there's still a demand for physical artwork.
Yeah.
and galleries are, yeah, but I don't know. It's
Do you think it would ever get to a point where like a gallery would, when you retire or die, buy the rights to like Luke Chueh, and then they use AI to keep your art going long past you?
You mean like that fucking ridiculous like Frida Kahlo like live shit and the Van Gogh live shit that like, I mean, that'd be kind of amazing if they did, because I would just like, if there was a way for my consciousness to pass beyond my body, so I could look down on how the world is changing. I could see this and laugh, and just have a good laugh, because I think it'd be hilarious. But I don't know. Like, I think that who knows what's going to happen, in the future. The futurists have struggled to try and predict the way the world has gone, and not very many of them have been right. So it is interesting. I'm glad the NFT thing is fully tanked. I think that I'm like freaking 2 years ago around this time, it was this crazy mad dash. Like, millionaires it seemed like we're being like coined freaking daily.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's over. I went to LA Art Show, which granted is not the greatest art show, but it's an art show. I remember like 2 years ago going and just seeing so many like screens everywhere, trying to like, promote and sell NFTs. And granted, I think that there is still a little bit of a market for that, but it's just not what it was.
Yeah.
At that time.
The big money is not being sucked in. I remember Decon 2022. Yes,
I agree with
2021. Yeah, 2021 Decon. Every person that came to the table was like, "These things are amazing. We could turn these into NFTs, and like you could have a connection between." I don't have very few people bring that to me anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
VB's still doing their thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting, like thing.
Yeah.
No.
But no, I definitely think that the hype has slowed down. It's to say it's gone forever. I don't know. There's probably a place for it, but it's not, every artist doesn't need to have NFTs as a part of their art portfolio, I guess, is where it's at now. And I think it probably stays that way. There's probably certain people that are great for NFTs and certain people that are great not to be NFTs. Right?
I gotta say, every single friend from like college and my youth, they all reached out to me saying, "Hey, have you gotten into NFTs yet?" And I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, "Well, I'm starting a business." I'm like, "Great, good luck with that."
Yeah, but by the time everybody's coming to you, Chris, and saying, "Hey, have you started NFTs?" You're probably too late. Right?
Yeah. No, it's I had a bunch of people reach out to me on the last six, like maybe half a year before the
bubble,
the crypto crash
bust. Yeah.
And I had some ideas for NFTs, in that like I always kind of like the one thing I admittedly did two of them, was just like sell off a fucking JPEG as an NFT. But I always kind of felt that like it would have been so much more interesting kind of thing if I employed some kind of like algorithmic technology where like the algorithm was kind of tearing apart and reconstructing like the image that I whatever image I used or 3D model I used, so it'd be this long kind of loop of like
Animation,
animation that maybe even was interactive with like, say, like if you're able to program it so that like it's in front of you're in front of a camera, or if you're touching a screen or something like that, it can like affect that. Space Chick, I'm not saying that crypto is dead, but it did there was a crash. Obviously it's coming back. I'm been watching the crypto markets just to see if I could recoup my losses.
Yeah, we were all just holding, right? It's like everybody's like, hold. It's like, yeah, if I sell it now, it's like completely worthless. So.
Oh, I'm holding until like just in case. But but I'm saying that the NFT market has the interest in NFTs have definitely died, and we'll see what happens with all that. Anyways,
now, so we have strayed very far from the reason you were on the show in the first place, which was to talk about the figure that you self-produced. This is your first ever self-produced vinyl figure, correct?
Right. So
I
created this figure. It's I'm sorry, the
blur effect.
The blur
there
effect
you go.
is not working. It's you know what, I'm gonna get, while I'm holding this here, I want to see if I could turn off like all these effects. But there we go. It's called Low Fidelity, and it is literally inspired by my love for the study beats, the lo-fi jams. When I'm working here in the studio, I'm usually like, I'll open up stream and I'll just put like, I don't know, like the chill hop stream or the lo-fi girl stream like on in the background and just work. And specifically the chill hop stream what is kind of my favorite because it's a little bit more upbeat, and it features this animated loop of their mascot, this raccoon wearing headphones and a hoodie, kind of strolling through the neighborhood. And I watched it so much that I was like, you know what? I'm stealing this idea. And I am going to do a painting. I'm not going to paint the raccoon. I'm going to paint my bear. And it's just going to be a vibe because, like, I don't know, like people who have been following my work since like, say 2007 when I did Possessed, people are probably more familiar with my really dark kind of maybe like, gory kind of nihilistic, narratives. And I'm just not there anymore. It's been, 20 plus years, since those days. And I'm just not as consumed by my self-destructive tendencies anymore. And so, like, I kind of like a lot of the work that I've been creating lately has been more introspective and a little bit more, kind of like, I don't know, just, yeah, I think that's it. It's very introspective. And I see this, the finish, the painting I did a couple years ago, I was very happy with. And then I created, the figure as a, based on that painting. And it's my first self-produced figure. I usually for the longest time I'd been working with Monkey King, Patrick Monkey King, and like Monkey King, along with like a lot of the smaller companies that came up during that time in the early 2000s, a lot of them have just kind of like a lot, they've either burnt out or they've gone into licensing. And I kind of felt like I want to give this a go. I want to like try self-producing. And so I actually did get some help from Monkey King. They helped me, like they hooked me up with their factory, which is great for me because that factory has produced several of my toys. So they kind of have an idea of like the aesthetic that I'm looking for, like, the kind of quality that I want.
Mm-hmm.
And Patrick from Monkey King helped walk me through that. The figure was sculpted by my studio mate, Dave Bondi, who actually sculpted my very first toy, Possessed, back in 2007. So it was a nice little throwback to him too. And Yeah, it literally went on sale through my web store at lukechueh store.com. But if you have an art toy retailer, in your area, a brick and mortar, I don't want to do like online retailers, because it's just kind of like, what's the fucking point of like just directing you to your website when you just go to my website? Like, I know Strange Cat will be getting some, including the now sold out high fidelity, colorway, which I created the lo-fi version, and then the hi-fi one, which I don't have on me, was the black bear and the white hoodie. So it's like the yin and yang of these two characters, and I think and so I want to like kind of reach out. I've been reaching out to small mom and pop art toy stores that have been around for a long time, that I've like had met or been to, and it's like I've been talking to like 3D Retro. There's a couple of international retailers that I've been talking to, and I want to hopefully either gain some new fans or direct some of my fans to these places, to kind of Kirby from Road of Fuji is one of the ones that I've been talking to too. So
so they can get it from their favorite local designer toy store or your site. And how much are they for retail?
There's a 7-inch figure, and I have them. The MSRP is $88.
Nice.
I didn't.
Good price.
Yeah, the number 8 is a auspicious number in Chinese culture. So what's better than 1 8? 2 of them. and so I think that I wanted to keep the price at a place where I felt like, hey, it's a pretty big piece. It's not like a little like small thing, and I didn't want to fleece my collectors. I have no interest in I'm always interested in growing my audience, not milking my audience. And I think that is that I felt that price tag was a good, it's, in my eyes, it's still really expensive, but it's because I could think of a lot of things I could do with $88, but but I also think that when people get their hands on it, and they will feel that it's not, they're not being duped.
No, it sounds like from the size and what I can tell from you holding it that $88 at this point in designer toys, that's going to feel like a piece that has some weight to it, and it's substantial at that price point. So.
It is surprisingly heavy when I think the factory filled some of it with some vinyl in order to make sure that it sits, because it's he's in a walking pose, so the footprint isn't
perfectly
flat-footed pieces, and it stands pretty solidly. So, and I have 5 colorways designed so far, and I'm and just in case, so I'm also interested in trying to make this an evergreen, in the sense that I will continue producing this version as long as there's interest in it, and I hate it when I hate these ultra limited edition things, I don't I mean, granted, I can respect flippers. They're great. They do what they do, a flipper is going to be your biggest fucking cheerleader, at least between the time they get the item and the time they flip it. And so I Flipper's got to flip, but when it comes to the normal colorway, I want to keep it like as open as I can, and then all the variants that I've got coming up,
those are the limited ones, right?
the limited editions. And
we've been trying to do that at UBD as well with like OGs, not putting a quantity on them.
Right.
I think there's some advantage to certain things being available for a new collector specifically, we'll say, somebody that just discovers you. Man, everything's sold out, I can't get anything, and then they don't buy anything, right?
Right.
But if maybe that thing is available, they're still buying that, right? And there's got to be those entry points for new people to come in and get your things. If it's super hard to get all your stuff, eventually somebody that just can't, over and over again can't get their thing are just going to give up.
Right.
And they're going to move on to somebody else that they can get their thing from.
Well,
so having those entry points is good.
We are so, everyone in this modern world has ADD, right? Like we quickly forget about the thing that we have some interest, we are interested in, and so to kind of like make it so that when you see it you can be able to get it is important. And having it existing in your space keeps the interest going. I don't know where I'm going with this, but
no, I mean that's definitely a part of it. And that person that buys a toy today, maybe in 5 years is buying your $10,000 painting, right? If they got they hit the lottery or something.
But God, maybe that $1 million painting.
Well, hopefully by then I'll
but that is the goal for an artist that is primarily a gallery or a painter or some sort of medium. Designer toys and the other merch and prints and all those things are different entry points where collectors can get in. And hopefully if somebody in college is buying your toy today, down the road they maybe make some more money and they can buy a new original painting or the next level up a print or whatever, and then to an original painting. That's the real goal of all this. And I think sometimes people lose sight of that. It just depends on where they're coming out from the scene. Are they a toy designer or are they an artist that were making toys based on their artwork? It's almost two different models.
Sure.
But for your model, it's definitely, have it available is great, because that is something that somebody can get and then hopefully down the road buy some other things from you.
I often wonder how some of these indie, these very toy focused people are actually able to make ends meet. Because I think that
I don't think there's more than a handful that are doing it full time,
right. You kind of have to have so many different verticals going in order to be able to survive in this modern world, and Travis, I'm looking at the collection of the photo of stuff, and and it's just I'm looking at all of them and I'm like, a majority of those people are full-time freaking artists. They are painting and supplementing with toys. You got the Daleks there. You got the Jermaine Rogers. Is that Jermaine Rogers down there? No, that's not Jermaine Rogers.
No. Which one?
Those. the ones that the middle shelf.
Oh, the MCAs, and then the Chris's right below that, and then Atomic. These are most, for a lot of the folks that I work with, they're more similar to your model, where they're an artist or a painter or somebody that's got a character, and we're turning that into a toy.
Right.
I do have some folks that are toy artists that are up making toys and then turning them into full-on production toys. But for the most part, I'm working with people.
I'm actually kind of surprised by I remember was it 3 years ago or so at Designer Con, there was a lot of resin people, people just pouring and casting out of their place, and I was and people were buying it up. There's
it's still the current boom, but I think it's about to bust.
Well, that's because
we're seeing a ton of similar looking clear resin characters with big black eyes.
I'm well, if they can be able to find if they have the skills that, oh my god, I'm blanking on his name right now, but he passed away a year ago. He was like the clear resin king. You guys know what? Task. If all that can be able to bring a new task into a person with the skill level of task into the into the forefront, then have at it, because like his casts were amazing. I miss that guy.
So
if we want a parallel to observe suspiciously wealthy furries.
That could be your new market right there.
I will take it. I will take it. I love anthropomorphized stuff. I think that one of the things, my rationales for doing what I do was that, like, by using anthropomorphized characters, I am bypassing the potential ageism, racism, and sexism associated with human characters. By using this bear character rather than a human character, you are like, if I took any of my paintings and inserted, say, a geriatric Black woman into the narrative, or a middle-aged Asian guy into the narrative, or our ingrained biases will automatically kind of tune us in or out of what we're seeing, because that's just the way human nature is. I'm not saying that we're all racist, but we all have biases, and we all allow it, by not
it's
giving,
like subconscious.
no, by not giving people's eyes and brains an excuse to fucking click off certain check marks, and instead are greeted by a cute cuddly bear.
Sometimes
You're willing
it's bloody.
to let yourself insert yourself into the painting more freely. So
Mecha Ducky had another comment here about the driving force for the resin is nostalgia, which we're running out of, especially with TikTok trends. I will say that a portion of the resin scene does rely heavily on nostalgia, but there are creators now that are relying heavily on clear resin techniques with their own original characters that are not necessarily nostalgic. So there's a whole section of the scene that is that, which is what Cory was and Luke was kind of referring to. I believe, based on the decon from a few years ago. So
yeah.
Do you guys spend any time on producing videos on TikTok?
I did.
I made some reels on Instagram and then posted them on TikTok.
I have a theory about artists and TikTok, especially like artists of like Chris's generation, my generation, whatever. And that is that the reason why our TikToks suck so fucking much is because we're using TikTok the way fucking we use Instagram, which is a promotions tool. And
it doesn't feel organic, right?
Right. And I feel that as creatives and what the way we should be using TikTok is by using it as a platform to create with, not to promote with, where
maybe
we
use mini storytelling kind of thing,
or we create unique artworks through TikTok. I think it might make it a little bit more interesting. I don't know how that's done, mind you, but I know, I watch a lot of I watch a lot of TikTok videos, and like I'm constantly like blown away by like there was this one creator called Defuck Boom. He got pretty popular in maybe about like a year ago. I'm not sure how popular he is now, but like basically he's just creating like these weird animations and posting them on TikTok and YouTube, and it's this weird like fight between the skibbity toilet head people versus the camera head people, and he's using gaming software stuff to like create these like epic battles that I don't know whether or not you've ever read Gantz, the manga, but it's like over the top like mecha battles and like whatever, and with wild camera stuff going, first person camera stuff going on, and it feels like it was created for the platform of like TikTok and short format videos. And I don't have the patience or the skill to be able to do that. I wish I did, but I definitely like, I would love to be able to create like short format video content that like isn't like a close up of a paintbrush on a canvas and a pullback, because because I think that that shit is fucking like boring as fuck. And like every time I see like a colleague or a friend fucking post those videos, upswipe. Because I'm just like, I don't need to see it. Why do I want to see this? I want to see something that is just out of this fucking world crazy, and like there was another guy who was doing like Furby shit, like taking Furbies and like elongating their bodies with like material and creating these weird psychedelic videos, and I was just like, oh, that's cool. You got my attention.
You're like, I'm here to see something I've never seen before. That's what I'm on TikTok for.
Yes,
So
100%.
So artwork on TikTok is the babies for Instagram for you. Then is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Like, or like, I don't know. Like, there. It's sometimes it's just like, so my friend Anch, he's on TikTok and he's growing a pretty good following, but he had this one video where it was just like him on his freaking phone, he's just watching this fucking like forklift like drive toward him and then drive past him, and it looked like it was about to hit him or some shit like that, and I was just like, what the fuck was that? I had to watch it again. He he got me to watch this like 15-second video about 3 fucking times.
Like, did I miss something?
And it's like, and that has nothing to do with what he actually does as an art form, which is like create this jewelry. And maybe it's because like I don't need another person's first person view of them painting, because I get that every day, of me first person viewing myself painting, and it's just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever, I'm cool. But like there's this another artist, I think his name is Bijou or something, like Bijou. I'm not really quite sure how to spell his artist name, but because his technique is basically a like do anything and every technique I could think of, from sanding the fucking panel to airbrushing to to paint brushing, and then freaking like sanding that again, and then like pull out a stencil and pull this frisket film and whatever, and create these really unusual trippy images that like I'm like, okay, like I'll watch that for a little bit, because you're just doing shit that I would never fucking like entertain myself to do. But I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Is that the guy who throws stuff at the can, like at the piece too?
Yeah, I was going to say that's really popular too, where people throw paint at the canvas and then it causes like a big noise, and then you're like, "Whoa, what was that?"
Throwing the most random things at it, like a chair, and then all of a sudden, like the piece is done. I don't know. I mean, TikTok to me it's entertaining, but there's like, I think for art, I don't think I don't think it translates right.
It doesn't.
You know, I think I agree with you as far as like and like the, you know, kind of left field kind of stuff. Um, I don't know. Anytime I try to make a video, like you said, it's literally like just old man video, you know. And my son reminds me of it, you know. My son's like, it's like, you know. But so, you know,
It's just
I
Chris
don't know.
like turning the camera, flipping it back and forth. He's like, I can't figure it out.
Yeah, no, that would be more entertaining. No, you know, it's just a typical, you know, clip film kind of thing. But I mean, I guess I do it because I know there are people who don't paint, so they don't get that experience. I don't know. I don't know. But it's also like skate videos. Like when I used to watch skate videos, they used to get me so amped to skate. So I guess I kind of think like by me doing painting videos, people are going to be interested in it, you know, and maybe inspire them to paint. But probably doing the opposite. You know.
Right.
I just never really know what to do. I'm just like, what should I?
Oh no! What are you
do?
talking about? Your Stone Cold Steve Austin promo videos have been great. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
I think that's it. I think I'm just going to cut wrestling promos for all my reels. Like that's
Yeah,
what I'm going to do.
you just
Is
got to
that
get
what you're
that
doing?
the breaking glass sound.
Essentially, that's what I'm doing for my reels. Like I come in my warehouse and I just like the door just opens and then I go in and do something, and like it just kind of like and I just cut it all together. Like I just doing like random shit at the warehouse. But have struggled for like a couple of years as to what my voice is in video format, right? Because like what I'm doing is not exactly video format, and video take a lot long. Like I mean, if anybody's making content, video takes a lot longer to think about than posting a post or even edit or put things, stitch things together. All that takes more time than just putting up a photo. So at this point, you know, when I'm juggling all the different things I juggle between work, family, you know, businesses, just enjoying life in general, it becomes hard to add something like an extra task like that to the thing. But I found a quick and easy way to do it, and that is just to make some ridiculous little, almost like wrestling promo video to go on my reel, and that's working for me at the moment. And they honestly got more views than anything on my Instagram probably in the last 6 months, the 3 or 4 that I did kind of sequentially. So it seems to be working. So
you know what I love?
I just want to hear the breaking glass. That's it.
There's these videos. There's this guy who posts videos of like Target in 1995, or you know, like Denny's in you know 19. And it's just this like it seems like found video footage of like someone shopping at Target in 1995, and they'll put like this kind of like nostalgic, you know, like
filter on it or
like synth wavy kind of song on it, so it like really feels like old time, like late 20th century, and it's just like oh like that, that takes me back.
There's whole YouTube channels of like people who restore old like family Disney videos, and some of them are just so wild to watch just because of just the time period and everything. You're like, there's ones from like 70s and 80s and 90s, and then you see ones from like even like the late 90s, and you're just like, oh, that's not that long ago. And then you look at it and you're like, holy shit, look at their clothes, look at their hair. That's a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. No, like I don't know how old you are, Chris, but I'm 50, and so like that is like I look at these videos like as reference to the 1995 fucking shopping in Target, and I'll see a video of like a kid like, you know, in the shopping cart, and I'm like, oh, that's probably how old I was around that time. Like, no, I was fucking 24.
Yeah, no, I'm 46, so I know the feeling.
I'm fucking old. Holy shit, what happened? Where did the time go?
Don't you feel like though, if you look at any videos or photos from 2000 and beyond, there's really no different. You can't tell the difference in clothing, and everybody still looks the same the last 24 years.
Right. Well, there's been this weird homogenization of like what like works aesthetically, right? It seems like everything like what people were general, unless you were like some weird like very specific fashionista type, like everyone's been wearing hoodies, t-shirts, and jeans for the past 20
some of them were tighter or looser or
there's just a slight fluctuation on the fit.
So unless you were like new metal or emo or like in the mid 2000s, like the super baggy clothes, like unless you were something in that, it's like okay, they were just wearing the same thing.
Well, I went to a school the other day to kind of look into doing a project for them, and these kids were walking around with Genkos on, and I was just like, get the I was like, those are Genkos. I'm like, really? And sure enough, it's
back,
crazy.
baby.
It's crazy. Well, it's so funny you say that because, like, for the past 20 years, people have been wearing, the slim fit jeans and stuff like that. So once you see those big pants, it's really just like throws everything for a loop.
Right.
How are you wearing those? Like they're so baggy.
All I could think of is the bottoms are so dirty. I'm like living in New York and walking around in the streets back in the 90s. That was the worst thing ever. Like getting caught in the rain with those big pants was disgusting. And as I get older, I'm like, no, you can't come in my house with those. What are you talking about? Get them out of
here. Get off my lawn
before you come in here.
Yeah.
So
shaking my fist at the sky.
Yeah.
So guys, I'm looking at the clock here. We're at 1:41, so we're almost going on the 2-hour mark here. Luke, I do want to toss out, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to promote or anything like that?
I'm going to 5 Points.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never done 5 Points, but I figured that I've got this guy,
got to hit all the shows.
It's time to hit the shows. So I've got a show in May in London. That's pretty exciting. And then I think and then I also in November I've got a show in Australia. So
nice.
And I'm hoping to make my way out there. Eat
on the longest flight ever.
Yes. I'm hoping to get chlamydia from a koala and get into a fight with a kangaroo. I'm looking forward to I've never been south of the equator, so nice. The closest I've been is probably Mexico City, and so I'm going to be recording a video of me flushing a toilet here, and then I will flush a toilet there, and then I'll create a reel, and I'm excited.
And then at the end, you'll just cut in a piece of artwork.
No, I can't. Those two things are too glorious and amazing. It'll just it'll undercut my fucking artwork, all day long, because people want to see that. People want to see the toilets, doing this.
I think I've got your painting inspired by this, though. It's the bear, but somebody's giving him a swirly, and the water's going clearly in the wrong direction. So that is the story.
Are you going to make it out to Decon in Vegas, or is that going to conflict with your show?
I think it is I think it's right before my show, so I'll probably do DesignerCon and then fly out to Australia. You want to talk about DesignerCon really quick? Do you want to talk about DesignerCon really quick?
Sure, but then we have to talk about CollectedCon afterwards.
Okay, let's start. So from what I understand, and this is just based on conversations that I've had with other people, this is not a conversation I had with Ben or Kevin or any of the Decon people, but so this is kind of speculative, but from what I understand, the reason why the Anaheim Convention Center was kind of fucking with Decon was because they were not filling up the hotels around the convention center. And the reason why they weren't filling up the convention center is because I think a majority of the people who attended DesignerCon were locals, people based in Los Angeles.
Definitely the vendors, right?
Yes, a lot of the vendors, but most of the people that were like on the floor, like, like shopping and stuff like that, I think were locals, or they had friends that lived in Los Angeles, so like they would like, like why pay, a stupid amount of money to like stay in a hotel when you can just like, crash with a buddy. And I wonder how well Vegas will do. I know a lot of people are already kind of like, oh, this is going, like a lot of vendors are like, like fucking Vegas. And a lot of collectors are like, I'm not going to fucking like drive out to Vegas for this. And as much as I would like for it to do well, I really question how well it can honestly do, simply taking that specific, like aspect into mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did hear Ben kind of making comments in some of the, it was a podcast or something that I heard him, I don't want to misquote where it was, but he was mentioning that basically what happened was they tried to make it work at Anaheim. They basically were offered a date that was like impossible. It's like basically Thanksgiving weekend. That was kind of the final straw. It was like, okay, well, we got to move somewhere. They attempted a couple of different places in Los Angeles and could not get a date that would work. So they were like, well, then let's just try Vegas and see what happens. So they are making the move. If it works, it sounds like it would stay, but it doesn't sound like that they're opposed to, if it doesn't work, something else. At least from what he said on the podcast that I was listening to.
Right. And I'm definitely like, because I have this production figure, I'm going to do it, but like, I am not excited about doing it. I wonder what the attendance is going to be like. Fortunately, I'm not a gambler. I don't fucking like, maybe I'll throw $20 at a slot, but like, I don't know enough of the hand, signs and rules of gambling,
Which just like betting like crazy. hit me.
Yeah, when to hit, when to fold. Like I just don't know those things. So,
sir, you have 22. You're like, yeah, hit me.
Yeah, hit me. Split it. I don't know. Whatever these things, do. Like I would need someone like behind me to tell me what to do, and I don't think they would like that in Vegas. But
yeah.
I don't know.
It's I'm wishing them all the success. I think a lot of people kind of have a similar thought to what you're saying, where it's kind of like Vegas. Vegas is one of those places that I think it's fun to go there and visit, but it's not necessarily a place I want to hang out in for too long. So, it's I'm planning to attend at a minimum, maybe vend if if all the cards play out right, if the pricing and money makes sense.
Right.
But it's a matter of, can it work there, and can they get people to travel out from either Los Angeles coming out for the weekend or whatever, or the same people that were flying to Los Angeles coming to Vegas, right?
Right. It's I mean, like, just exactly how many people were coming from Vegas to attend DesignerCon in Orange County? I mean, really? Really? Brass, like, let's like, honestly, like, what? 20 people?
Lostlings have a question. Why not in the Las Vegas Convention Center then? From what I understood, they found a spot that's in the art district in Las Vegas. So I think that was
the conversation was on that same podcast. It sounded like they found this place that reminded them of Pasadena in a way. Like, so it's more design. It's not necessarily as convention center-y. And that's kind of part of the reasoning why they went there. Also, it's not on like the traditional strip, from what I gathered from that podcast. So it was supposed to give it more of a closer feel to what decon used to be. So
it will be a crying shame if this is the thing that like kind of squashes DesignerCon, because like I've been going to DesignerCon since the beginning, and before that VTN, Vinyl Toy Network. And so I've watched this show grow and grow, and like last year's event was a major like a hiccup,
the time of the year,
the time being done at the time of the year, though I admittedly liked the feel of the con. Like I mean, you were there, Cory, like it was Chris, were you there?
No, I didn't get to go.
It was intimate,
much more chill.
It was chill, like, but but like I liked the vibe of it all. Like I enjoyed myself there, so yeah, I'm curious. Anyways,
yeah, I'm curious to see. Hopefully it is successful there and they can make it work. Whether it ends up being there in the future or not, sounds like it's still possibly up in the air. But hopefully they can figure out a way to keep doing the show, because obviously it's a big part of gathering everybody in and trying to create some of that community that we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, and we've taken it full circle now.
Agreed. Speaking of conventions, I heard about this one that's happening in Chicago in August. What's it called again?
Yeah, it's Collected Con with the three of us plus Kirby at Roto Fuji, which I know you're super familiar with. You've had quite a few shows there, right?
Yeah, quite a few shows. He's trying to lasso me in. He like Cory and I talked at DesignerCon, and now I was talking to Kirby, and now he's doing it, and I'm just like, oh fuck.
I can't remember if the first time Luke and I ever met in person was in Chicago, but I think it might
was
have
it
been.
Chicago.
You had that show at Rotofugi with
Jeru, right?
Jeru, and then Jeremiah. That's where I met Jeremiah for the first time, and we all had that like awesome day where we just like went and toured around Chicago together.
Yes, that was when we went to Hot Doug's.
Yep, Hot Doug's. Yep. Ben and I were Luke's wheelman because Luke didn't have a car, so he was riding around with us because we drove in from Ohio to Chicago, so we had our car.
Kirby made me a little bit of an offer that would help me like make my way out to Collected Con. So
it's shaping up to be something cool. So hopefully you can join in.
It's an excuse to go to Chicago, anyways. Like freaking
and it won't be cold.
I like the cold. I am a hoodie weather like guy. Like it's it's the best weather in my eyes. It's but I do love Chicago. Chicago is like I like Chicago more than I like New York. And
me too.
You and Cory.
Yeah, New York fucking dirty and smells like piss. That's all I got to say about New York.
Cory's like the biggest New York hater.
I don't hate New York. I don't hate New York, but like I love the public art in Chicago. Yeah. Like it is like there is got some of the best like public art on display. Like and then like you just need to watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and
right,
and you'll just be like, "Oh, Chicago, that's a classy town."
Like,
it's pretty much the same as 40 years ago.
But it's more public art.
Yes, it's more public art, indeed. So. But so, how's that shit? How's it coming together? How's it coming together?
It's going good. We're we're selling through the space, so it's going to be a pretty full show. We're really starting to line up a lot of the kind of other items to go along with the show, whether that's exclusives, VIP packages, those kind of things. We're starting to really kind of ramp up announcing who's going to be there over on our Instagram at Collected Con. And we're going to be updating the site here once we can release like the first kind of wave of vendors and everything. So we're getting it together, but we're learning as we go here. So there's a little bit of a learning curve on some of this stuff too, since it's our first year.
Yeah, lots of learning processes happening, but it's all good.
But no, it's all good because our goal here is to pull together as many folks in the scene, whether it's designer toy, street artist, independent artists or contemporary artists or painters or anything like that, sculptors, anything that we can, bring that's cool and, in one spot, and we can all gather for that community aspect here in the Midwest. Give people an option because there's a lot of people that travel to Decon or 5 Points that are from right here in the Midwest. So if we can create that spot here, the third kind of leg of the designer toy convention scene, I think it would be a good thing.
Yeah, agreed. Then it would be like this kind of great like succession, like this, June, August, November, like choom.
Yeah, that was kind of the reasoning behind when we chose to do it. We wanted to kind of be in the middle and not competing with either one of the other two major conventions, obviously. That was kind of why we chose when we chose. It's really, I wish we could talk more about some of the vendors, but we've got some good stuff coming along. So, and maybe Luke, if we can convince him.
I know. I'm not saying no yet. Yet. I need to see how things go because, like I said, I've got that November show, and I think it's in my best interest to get out there and do my song and dance. But I'm not saying no yet. I'm not saying. I don't know.
So we'll keep thinking about it. And while you're thinking about it, if you're a fan or if you're a Luke, you can go over and check out all the information on collectedcon.com. There you can find all the information for tickets, or whether it's VIP or regular, or just certain days on the weekend. Or if you want to be a prospective vendor, there's a spot on the site where you can go out there and basically put your information in and be considered to be a vendor. So that's over on the website. And then if you want to follow us
you're vetting your vendors.
Oh yeah, we're vetting.
Yeah.
Yes, you may not get approved, Luke. I don't know.
Oh. So we'll have to pull some cards for you.
Yeah. So then,
okay. Wow, that just suddenly like made me go, so.
It's a curated show. So
respect.
And then also for just random updates and like vendors and things that we were releasing over on the Instagram, it's at CollectedCon. So you can check out all that kind of stuff there. But we should start seeing a bunch more updates here in the next couple of months as we get closer to the show. But so far it's been great, and ticket sales are active now. So if you want to get your VIP packages or reserve any of that kind of stuff, there's some cool things going on with that. There is a toy, and it's currently in production, and we're starting to get some of those photos in for the test samples, and it's all starting to look really good. So we're just excited to basically be able to share a bunch of news, but obviously it takes time. We're getting there.
I think we're getting close to sold out on the VIP tickets last I checked too. So
that's great.
Look at that. News from the
VIP, get in there.
Yeah, news from the actual person that's paying attention to the ticket sales. So that's the person that really listening to, not me. I'm over here on the other side trying to get everything organized. So
excellent. Well, we will talk. We will talk. So you guys know how to get a hold of me. So I'm here. So you're welcome to bug me all you guys want. Chris, are you doing it? Are you doing Collected Con? Because if Chris isn't doing it, you can count me out.
Hey, well, I'm part of it. I'm part of
Chris is a founder.
I'm a founder.
We convinced Chris to give us money and join this whole effort.
Okay.
That's how I get to hang out with the cool kids. I have to pay.
I see.
He's a part of. He's a founding member of Collected Con. He's the fourth.
I have no idea who the founding members are of Collected Con.
So it's myself, Cory, Chris, and Kirby.
Wow.
It is a dream team of stores, artists, and producers.
That's some serious Midwest players right there. Kirby at least. I mean,
Yeah.
but I don't even know where you're based out of, Chris. Where are you?
I'm in stinky New York.
Okay.
Smelly New York, yeah.
He's
Look,
from
I
the
live in
land
Los
of the
Angeles.
Wu-Tang.
Los Angeles stinks too. So like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but I think it's time we probably wrap this episode up.
Yeah,
So,
2 hours and 20 seconds. Let's do
Yes.
this.
Might be a record.
Yeah. So,
Sorry, I'm a bit of a chatty Cathy, so like it's
yeah.
Get the
It is what
conversation
it is.
going. I've got a whole lot of bullshit I can be able to share with y'all.
Yeah. So
We'll do a part 2 for that.
Before we roll out, though, I do want to give you a chance, Luke, to toss out your social media or your website or whatever it is where people can find your artwork.
You could find me at Luke Chueh. That's LukeChueh. At all the social medias, LukeChueh.com, Luke Chueh on Instagram. I think Luke Chueh Art on Facebook, or and you should be able to find links to my store at lukechuehstore.com.
Awesome. Get over there and purchase those figures so Luke can continue to keep making stuff. That's the best way to keep the cool stuff coming out, is to buy the stuff that's coming out. So make sure to jump over there and support. So, and then Chris, if you could let everybody know where they can find you.
Follow my TikTok at Chris it's Chris RWK at everything, pretty much.
Awesome. And Cory?
Strange Cat Toys on all social media and strangecattoys.com. And the Tampa folks, don't buy the lo-fi on Luke's website. Wait for it to come to our store and you can pick it up.
Exactly.
And I'm Travis Likens. You can find me at UBD Toys or ubdtoys.com. This has been the Urban Robot Cat Podcast, the show about art and the people who make it.